Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pert.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. He'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. They'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
arrived. To demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Today is the Friday edition, getting ready to head on into the weekend. Let's see what we have to deal with today. We're at the 6th, Friday the 6th of December. Alright, we see that we just transitioned between signs, 12:53 a.m., so just a little bit after midnight Pacific Standard Time, we went from Capricorn into Aquarius. Now you see these squiggly lines here of Aquarius, and it makes it look like this is representative of water. However, Aquarius is an air sign. It's about words and actions, communication. It's not about water. The idea of the water is how the words and the actions flow into life. The tarot card that represents this would be the card of the star, which teaches us that we need to be able to keep ourselves balanced between the conscious and the unconscious mind. It teaches us the lesson of how to meditate, the importance of meditation. The Hebrew letter attached to it is Zadi, which means fish hook. We take a question, we put it on the fish hook, we throw the fish hook into the water with the bait on it. Bait is the question, and we find the right answer. The water we're throwing it into is the unconscious mind. So Aquarius is teaching us how to use our mind to go fishing inside itself for the proper answers to the questions that we have. And in order to do so, we have to be able to still the mind. We have to be able to find the balance so we can have the peacefulness between the earth and the water, between the conscious and the unconscious. And so it's the words and actions. We're using our mind, our words, our actions to go and to be able to find something. Okay, we hear about the age of Aquarius, which is this new age of enlightenment that we're upon. So enlightenment, the mind, something with the mind is instilled, something from deep inside, that deep wisdom, that deep knowledge is brought to the surface. Okay, so that's the unconscious, subconscious energy today, whereas the conscious mind or the sun sign is in Sagittarius. So we have fire and we have air. So just think how fire and air work together. If they work nicely, great. If the air blows too much, it blows the fire out. If there's too much fire, it could snuff out the air. So they need to work together in order to be able to create something productive. Later this afternoon, we do have a square between communication, Gemini here, and this one here, which is Neptune. Neptune is about water. Neptune is about getting a new perspective on things. So we're challenged with our communication later this afternoon to maybe have a new perspective on the way that we're communicating. Look at things a little bit differently. Okay, that's later this afternoon that we're dealing with that. And as we go into the weekend, Aquarius is going to be the moon over the course of Saturday. On Sunday, we make a transition from Aquarius into Pisces. And then when we come back Monday, we'll be fully in Pisces. All right, so that's where we're at. Moon phase. We are in the waxing moon, going up towards the full moon, 18% of the way there. The Mayan Oracle, we're at an 11-tone day. 11-tone is called the spectral tone of liberation. 11 is like the idea of dropping sugar or salt into water. It dissolves and the water becomes either sweet or salty depending on what was in there. Another idea is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Remember when he said, if you strike me down and become even bigger than before? So he dissolved, his essence dissolved, that he became much bigger, and then as we know, he was able to communicate with Luke in a whole different manner. So that's the idea of dissolving. We dissolve our essence to become bigger than what we are. And whenever there's an 11 tone, these two symbols are always the same. Okay, so the kin for today in this position here is the Earth. Again, it's a question mark. So synchronicity and navigation has to do with the questions, the intelligent questions we ask coming out of the warrior questions, the warrior intelligence. Our guide for today is the same, synchronicity and navigation. So the phrase for today is I dissolve in order to evolve, releasing synchronicity. I seal the matrix of navigation with the spectral tone of liberation. I am guided by my power double. And spaceweather.com, our solar wind is currently at 336.0 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is back down into the ones. Our coronal hole looks like it's gotten a little bit larger than yesterday, almost twice as big from what it seems here. Remember the solar wind blowing our way from the coronal holes that have been existing up to this point. M-class flare possibility is still down low. X-class is still at 1%, and geomagnetic storm activity is low, but it looks like it has picked up slightly. All right, so moving on from here. Suspicious observers don't have a report today. Was having trouble uploading things. And so we're going to move on from there to our next bit of information. Father Malachi Martin. Have you heard that name before? Father Malachi Martin was the head exorcist at the Vatican for many, many years. And, well, he made some discoveries while he was there that weren't too pleasing. And he released these discoveries into the world. Here, we're going to start things off with a page about Malachi Martin. It says, Father Malachi Martin affirms Satanism is practiced in the Vatican. He goes on and says, how I warned and warned that Satan would enter into the highest realms of the hierarchy in Rome. The third secret, my child, is that Satan would enter my son's church. In the Fatima Crusader article, Malachi Martin, a scholar, Vatican insider, and best-selling author, said, anybody who is acquainted with the state of affairs in the Vatican in the last 35 years is well aware that the Prince of Darkness has had and still has his surrogates in the court of St. Peter in Rome. Where we go here? What happened? It disappeared. Look at that. Okay. There we go. That's kind of weird. Okay, of St. Peter in Rome, from 1958 until 1964, Jesuit priest Malachi Martin served in Rome, where he was a close associate of and carried out many sensitive missions for the renowned Jesuit Cardinal Augustin Bea and the Pope. Released afterwards from his vows of poverty and obedience at his own request, but still a priest, he ultimately moved to New York and became a best-selling writer of fiction and non-fiction. Martin had first made reference to a diabolic rite held in Rome in 1990, non-fictional bestseller about geopolitics in the Vatican. The book was called Keys of the Blood, in which he wrote, the most frightening for Pope John Paul II, he had come up against the immovable presence of a malign strength in his own Vatican and in certain bishops' chantiaries. It was what knowledgeable churchmen called the superforce. Rumors had always difficult to verify, tied its installation to the beginning of Pope Paul VI's reign in 1963. Indeed, Paul had alluded soberly to the smoke of Satan which had entered his sanctuary, an oblique reference to enthronement ceremony by Satanists in the Vatican. Besides the incidents of satanic pedophilia, rites and practices was always documented among certain bishops and priests as widely dispersed in Turin, in Italy, in South Carolina, in the United States. The cultic arts of satanic pedophilia are considered by professionals to be the culmination of the fallen angelic rites. These allegations have largely gone unnoticed, possibly because he was so crafty in his descriptions that he might even been referring to the coronation of Pope Paul VI. But he revealed much more about the alleged ritual in his last works, Windswept House, a Vatican novel. In this story, he vividly described a ceremony called the enthronement of the fallen angel Lucifer, supposedly held in St. Paul's Chapel in the Vatican, but linked with the concurrent satanic rites here in the U.S. on the 29th of June, 1963, barely a week after the election of Paul VI. In the novel, before he dies, the Pope leaves a secret account of the situation on his desk for the next occupant of the throne of Peter, a thinly disguised John Paul II. According to the New American, Martin confirmed that the ceremony did indeed occur as he had described. "Oh yes, it is very true, very much so," the magazine reported. He said, "but the only way I could put that down in print is in novelistic form." Martin's accusation of a satanic ritual at the Vatican was also confirmed by John Loeffler, host of the Steel on Steel radio show. Mr. Loeffler personally asked Martin, who had been a regular guest on his show, about the reported dedication to Satan within the Vatican. "You know," Malachi confirmed, "the first part of the book, Wimslet House, he confirmed the dedication of the Vatican to Satan in a secret ceremony that occurred unknown even to the Pope at that time, that he managed to pick up. And I asked him, was this true? Did it happen? And he, Father Martin, said yes, it did." So you can see that there's a problem going on there, and this is something that we have heard over the course of the years that there was taking place at the White House. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and bring you to this video here and play this for you. This is from part 2 of a piece called Kingdom of Darkness, and this is Malachi Martin talking about what is going on. Here we go.
So we have been subject, therefore, to Lucifer's raging freedom to recoup what he lost. Because remember, in that 1,000 years between, say, the year 400 and the year 1400, Christianity spread. Whole peoples were converted. Whole of Europe was. And when they got to Mexico, they converted 8 million in 2 years. Remember, it was astounding. And Christianity did spread. And even today, Christianity is the biggest religion going. And the Catholic Church is 18% of the human race. It's almost 1 billion. So he lost an awful lot. A point about that, which we must always remark on, is this. It is dogmatic that not everybody will be saved. There is a destined group whom God has foreseen will cooperate with him and will be saved. But it's not a majority of people, and it's not all the people, which is an error people are pushing nowadays. In other words, so the 1,000 years probably raked in those souls that were to be saved and would cooperate, and the remnant then has struggled since the 1700s until today. And I think that if one looks, and we may in these talks, these tapes, we may touch on the evidence we now have that Satan is having his last stand. This is his Waterloo, but he's going to kill off, destroy much, scorched earth policy, destroy as much as he can before he finally is shoved down into the abyss again, chained by Michael. And then the reign of Our Lady and the Sacred Heart of Jesus will take place. I'm putting a lot of doctrine and revelation and conclusion into that, but that's the position of Satan. There's one more thing about Lucifer which we should remember, and it's this. We have no protection against him of ourselves. No one can match him on this earth. No one. He can deceive anybody. St. Paul says that he transforms himself into an angel of light. And therefore, no matter how lofty you think your motive is, no matter how correct you think your doctrine is, you need protection. And that protection comes to a Catholic, a Christian, a Catholic, especially in two ways. It comes from the voice of the church, when the church speaks, clear, with a clear voice. Sometimes I wish our churchmen spoke with a clearer voice, but anyway, when the church speaks, in the magisterium, as we call it, which nowadays has been rather mute in the voices of its appointed speakers. And number two, you have the protection of Michael and the angels. That's their function. And remember this, that the reason, to go back to Lucifer's beginnings, we know from the fathers that the crisis between him and God consisted about Christ, concerned Christ. Apparently, to use human language, Lucifer and his angels were shown Jesus Christ as a baby and as a man wandering around Palestine, barefoot, a scrawny Palestinian with a beard and a robe on him, with not a penny, very few pennies in the purse, and he was asked to adore him. And he was shown the vision of this man crucified, which then is being hanged And he was told to adore this thing of clay. And to ask Lucifer to do that? No. He wanted to be up on the mountain of the Most High in the congregation of the North, to be equal to God. He wasn't going to do that.
So it was the sin of pride?
Of course. Sin of pride. Sin of pride. He was going to be it. Now, the reason that God did that was that he gave the option to all the angels. This is going to be the situation. You will service this man and his followers. You will protect them. Part of you will be up beside my throne, praying for them and making their prayers ascend to my heart. The other part of you will be steward angels. You will guard their feet. You will guard their houses. You will protect them from wild animals. You'll cure them when they're ill. You'll stave them off when they're feeling guilty, when they're cruel. You'll remind them that they're children of God and they're supposed to be faithful to my laws. Will you do this? Option. Freedom. Or completely autonomous. Lucifer and his people said, no, we're angels. That thing of a lump of clay, born in a bed between the legs of a woman, and finally expiring and being eaten by worms, and we are immortal, and you want us to... So he refused. So it is the sin of pride. And that's why the one great God is to call on the angels, because we don't use them at all. And the funny thing about the angels and Lucifer is this. The funny thing about the angels is that if you don't call on them, they don't be very active. If you call on them and expect about 40% from them, they'll give you 40%. If you call on them and expect 90%, they'll give you 90%. If you call on them and expect 100%, not hoping, hope, as somebody said, is a very good companion but a bad guide. You must believe you're going to get 100%. If you do, you'll get 100%. It's a funny way God has of treating us. The same is true for Our Lady too. At La Salette, when she was speaking to the two children, they said, how can we believe you, Lady, Madame? And she said, if you believe in me, I'll believe in you. There's a quid pro quo with God, because he's consented to treat us like that. So with Satan, with Lucifer, as I prefer to call him, those are the only two protections we have against him. Because St. Peter says he's like a lion going around seeking whom he may devour. And he is intent on eviscerating the church, on corrupting your soul and my soul, destroying priesthood, removing the tabernacle, destroying all chastity and purity, completely destroying the family, and producing a world in which there is no church, there is no compassion, there is no pity, there is no love, there is no gentleness, and there is only death and pain and destruction. I work with Satanists who are reformed, and they all tell me the three tests they have to go through in order to become a Satanist, an official Satanist. We'll touch on their existence, by the way, in a later conversation here today. But they have to kill, show they're indifferent to death. Usually they have a puppy dog or a cat or a kitten or something, or a bird. And they have to burn to show a love for fire. And thirdly, they have to be cruel. Not kill, but just cruel. Cause a dog or a cat or a bird or a human being to scream at pain but not kill them, and love to do it. That's the world of Lucifer. And by the way, if you look around at what we consider the blots in our landscape, whether it's Los Angeles or San Francisco or New York or cities in Canada, wherever it is, or Paris or London, what we call the seamy side, the inhuman side, is always filled with what? Death, arson, cruelty to children, to women, to men. So Satan's thumb mark is everywhere, the cloven hoof.
And what are devils?
Devils are those angels who went with Lucifer. They see, you could ask me, and many people have, how many are there? Bernard, in this room, how many people are there sitting?
2?
That's right. And how do you know that? You count. 1 body, 2 bodies, 2nd body. Now, an angel hasn't got a body. You can't count them numerically. That's the difficulty. In that world of the spirit, there is no numerical separation, because they are spirits, and they haven't got a body, and they're spirits that cannot die. So in our language, there are zillions, there are millions of them. Christ said at the drop of a hat in Gethsemane standing, when Peter drew his sword, he said, put up your sword. If I asked my father for one, he said a legion. And a legion in his mouth meant hundreds of thousands of angels immediately to defend him. And they're there because they don't take up any space. This whole thing about how many angels stand on the head of a pin is an old Protestant reproach for Catholic philosophers. The head of a pin doesn't mean they don't stand on anything. They're immaterial, but they're real. They're real. When everybody has one, Everybody has a guardian angel. And we are told by some of the fathers, everybody has a devil assigned to them, depending on their character. If I'm a sensuous character, I'm one who wants to tempt me sensually and sexually. If I'm greedy and avaricious, it'll be for money, and all the other various things. But we know from exorcism, by the way, that the devils specialize. And they're very stupid outside that when you get talking to them. They're extremely stupid. But in their métier, in their actual profession, what they're experienced, whether intellectual or they're scientific or mathematical or what, they're very, very clever. They've got their material down pat. So they're formidable things to come up against, and they're very active.
Now, why do modern theologians scoff at the very idea of the devil and guardian angels and the whole concept sometimes even of evil?
I'll tell you what they do, but it's a short answer, and don't be dissatisfied with it until you hear the explanation of it. Simply, they belong to the apostasy. It's as short as that. What does that mean? It means they have lost their faith. If you deny the devils, if you deny the existence of Lucifer, if you deny the existence of sin, of hell, of eternal punishment, you automatically deny Christ's salvation. You automatically deny God's goodness and the whole purpose of the cross. The whole incarnation is destroyed. In fact, you can't deny the existence of Lucifer without being led inevitably to deny the divinity and the function of Christ as Savior. What's the purpose in Christ's coming? What is the purpose? To make a nice land, to give us more eggs, more happy lives on earth? No, he came to save us from sin, S-I-N. So that's the reason. Now, the reason I say the apostasy is this, that there is evidence, and I cannot get over the evidence, and I'm one of millions, that we are today in the grip of the beginning of a major apostasy. That is, overnight, as it were, Bernard, in a church which 30 years ago was peopled with solid lines and ranks of clergymen and nuns and priests and lay people, all believers, nobody ever questioning the fundamentals or even the accidentals. Overnight, we suddenly turn around. We have cardinals who don't believe, and we know they don't. We have bishops that don't believe, and we know they don't. We have priests that don't believe, and we know it. We have nuns that don't believe. We have whole segments of the population that have stopped going to mass.
All right, so there you go. That is Father Malachi Martin. This is just a second part. There's a whole series that's this Kingdom of Darkness. So you might want to check it out, follow the links, and you'll be able to find all of them. There's a whole bunch if you really want to listen. And there's a lot more videos on Father Malachi Martin available online. So check it out, see what it has to say. Very important information. UFO News is up next. Stay tuned.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk. Thank you very much. Today I have 7 stories. Story number 1 comes to us from Costa, Mesa, California. This was in November. Object in question, we see it's a very orb-like object. See right here, the long version and then the close-up. Filmed these objects from my porch in Costa Mesa. I saw what appeared to be a metal ball hovering outside. The object floated fairly stationary before descending. At 28 seconds, a black UFO floats into frame and cruises south. Slow motion, digital, zoomed, applied. We're coming up to this point. At 59 seconds, a morphing UFO I barely caught before it went out of range. I didn't have my normal camera, so the resolution is lower than normal, but there's a unique behavior, so I decided to post. If you look at the still picture at 55 seconds, it looks like a possible ET pilot. Okay? So, there's our object right there. Slow motion. We're going to look for the 50-second mark, 55 and 59-second mark, so we're 45, for 6, for 7. We want to see what we see at that point. 4 and 55. Okay. This is what he's saying is a morphing UFO that occurred. And then we're going to jump on. Alright. Moving on from here. Alright, our favorite volcano in Mexico, Popocatépetl. had another sighting. Let's jump over to the sighting itself. Here it is. The volcano's right here, and there you go. Something flying down into the volcano and gone into the volcano. Very interesting indeed. Lots of stuff going on there. Follow the links. Check it out. Alright, here we have a compilation of significant UFO audio clips dating back to the 40s is now readily available to the public. UFO enthusiasts and open-minded people were very thrilled to know that a historic UFO audio archive has been made available online. The audio archive, which was compiled by Wendy Connors and Roderick Dyke, records in detail the beginning of the modern UFO era. It was discovered by Isaac Coy and Giuliano Markinovich, the same people who made it available online. Connors, who spent her life in retirement in Albuquerque, New Mexico, was working for many years in the U.S. Air Force and Communications Department. She had interest in Air Force's official investigation of UFOs. Connors was one of the founding members of the Project Sign historical group, which gathered people who related to UFO investigation program for the U.S. Air Force. For many years, Connors compiled audio clips from some of the most notable interviews of the time. She called her project Faded Discs, which included key information about the UFO from researchers and administrators of UFO investigation projects of the Air Force. Comments and other notable people such as presidents, actors, astronauts can be heard in the audio files. It was remastered by Connors for her future generations to access it. And you can find these at here, archive.org. Just click on this link at the bottom and it'll take you right there. Alright, here we have a video to watch, 26-minute long video. You can watch this later. This is engineer Dr. Robert Wood. He worked in a senior capacity as an aerospace engineer at McDonnell Douglas for his entire 43-year career. In his testimony, he states that he was involved with a specific project at McDonnell Douglas to study the propulsion systems of UFOs. In addition, he confirms the existence of other projects within the aerospace industry and gives his assessment of the fact that the subject is not only real, but is of extraterrestrial nature. He also confirms the extreme secrecy surrounding the subject. So there's something for you to watch over the course of the weekend. We jump over here. We have some more. This was Don Phillips, Air Force at Las Vegas, Air Force Base during an event where UFOs were seen moving at enormous speeds near Mount Charleston, northwest of Las Vegas. In addition, he worked with Kelly Johnson at Lockheed Skunk Works on design and construction of the U-2 and the SR-71 Blackbird. He testifies that they not only have these extraterrestrial devices, but he also achieved tremendous technological advances from their study. He states that in the 1950s and the 60s, NATO did research into the origin of ET races and disseminated reports to the leaders of various countries. He lists a few of the technologies we were able to develop because of ETs: computer chips, lasers, night vision, bulletproof vests. Mr. Phillips now develops technologies that can help eliminate environmental pollutants and reduce the need for fossil fuels. Again, here's another video, 54 minutes in length, for you to watch. See what you can get from that. Alright, this was something that just recently happened dealing with Congress and extraterrestrials. U.S. Congress has close encounter over extraterrestrial life. Witnesses from NASA and MIT suggest to House committee that scientists may be on the verge of breakthrough search for aliens. The search for extraterrestrial life crosses every boundary. It has surpassed the limit of where humans can travel and tested the limits of what we can see. The quest must pass through time as well as space. Also, Congress. A House committee convened on Wednesday to take up an abiding mystery of the universe. Are we Earthlings alone? After about 90 minutes of testimony, committee chair Lamar Smith of Texas gavelled the hearing to an inconclusive close. It was not, however, a fruitless outing. An impassioned testimony witness from NASA, MIT, and the Library of Congress described the crossroads in the search for life out there and suggested scientists may be on the verge of a breakthrough. This is the first time in human history we have the technological reach to cross the threshold, said Dr. Sarah Seeger, an MIT professor and 2013 MacArthur Genius Grant recipient. Her work focuses on the detection of biosignature gases on distant planets, large volumes of which might indicate life, whether intelligent life or single-cell bacteria. Seeger testified that James Webb Space Telescope, scheduled for launch in 2018, and other advances are changing the search for alien life forms. If life really is everywhere, we actually have a shot at it, she says. NASA announced last month that its Kepler mission had discovered 3,500 potential planets in the Milky Way galaxy including 647 thought to be the right distance from the stars to support inhabitants. The Hubble Space Telescope has detected water in the atmospheres of 5 planets outside the solar system, including two studies released this week. The chances are very high of life elsewhere in the universe, Sager said. The question is there life near here, in our neighborhood of stars? We think the chances are good. The witness said that the sustained funding was needed for scientific research in general and space research in particular. The last White House budget calls for $17.7 billion for NASA, a slight decrease from the 2012 after the deeper cuts in the last decade. I know that funding is tough, but it's the best thing that you can do, said Dr. Mary Wojtek, senior scientist for the astrobiology at NASA. You've pretty much indicated the discovery of life on the planet is just inevitable, observed Bill Posey, Republican of Florida. It's just a matter of time and funding. And one last piece here. This is a petition put out by Stephen Bassett, Paradigm Research Group. Goes on to say full government disclosure of ET presence on Earth. Petition states, Dear Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, we call on you to urge all members nations of the United Nations who have knowledge of benevolent extraterrestrial beings engaging with humanity to now openly declare the truth. This disclosure, handled with discernment and integrity, will indicate a new era of peaceful communication, advanced energy and travel systems, and can heal the planet and transform living conditions for all peoples. You got a place you can put your email address and sign it, and other information about here as well. All right, and click here. You get some more information about what this is all about, and you can read about the citizens' hearing that took place, so on. So, follow the link, read this information. I'm in contact with Stephen Bassett. We're going to be doing another show upcoming. We're just working out the date when we're going to do the interview. So look forward to that coming up within the next week or two. That is our UFO news for today. I'll be right back. I have a lot more news, so don't go anywhere.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
All right, let's continue on. So the first thing I'm going to go with here is a story that has been out there for some time. This article is entitled, My Husband Directed the Fake Moon Landing, says Stanley Kubrick's widow. Well, you've certainly heard this theory posed that the moon landing was a fake. You may have seen the piece that Stanley Kubrick put together, or that was put together about Stanley Kubrick about the moon landing and how he had filmed it. Well, this goes even further. This is his wife giving a testimony. In The Big Lie, there is always a certain force of credibility, always more easily, because the broad masses of a nation are always more easily corrupted in a deeper strata of their emotional nature than consciously or voluntarily. And thus, in the primitive simplicity of their minds, they are more readily fall victims to the big lie than the small lie, since they themselves often tell small lies in the little matters, but would be ashamed to report the large-scale falsehoods. It would never come to the heads to fabricate colossal untruths, and they would not believe that others could have the imprudence to distort the truth so infamously. Even though the facts which prove this might be so may be brought clearly to their minds, they will still doubt and waver, and will continue to think that there may be some other explanation. For grossly impudent lies always leave traces behind it, even after it has been nailed down, a fact which is known to all expert liars in this world, and to all who conspire together in the art of lying. These people know only too well how to use falsehood for the basest purposes. Well, that was a quote from Adolf Hitler stating how the masses can be manipulated. He understood how, okay? The same German understanding of psychology has been brought to the U.S. He's been using it here. Goes on to say, so you think Americans actually landed on the moon? Well, think again. We have proof that the moon landings in the 60s and 70s were all a big lie. To start with, keep in mind there were only about 100 people involved in the moon landing hoax. Mission Control in Houston, as well as most of the men and women who worked on this project nearly 40 years ago, had no idea it was a fake. But how is this possible? Very simple. The power elite who put on their fiasco never let anyone see the big picture. The thousands of people involved only had their small part to worry about. Mission control was in Houston. Launch site was in Florida. The engineers, mechanics, computer programs, etc. didn't have jobs that mixed with each other, so most people couldn't figure out the whole thing amounted to a Hollywood production. In '62, then President Kennedy said that he had the vision of putting man on the moon and returning him safely before the decade is out. Now, we don't know if at the time Kennedy knew this was impossible or not, but shortly after his murder in '63, the best rocket scientists in the world involved with the project informed Lyndon Johnson that science is at least 30 years away from being able to accomplish that task. The fact is, there is very little optimistic. They were a little optimistic. Here we are nearly 40 years later, and we still don't have technology to send man to the moon and return him safely to Earth. The powers that decided on this fraud concluded that if they couldn't send a man to the moon and get him back safely, then what they would do is have NASA fake the project and keep the billions of taxpayer money to use to fund the operation for themselves. Then they decided they actually could fake the whole thing for a fraction of the money they were being supplied. Here's a site in Iceland where we found a lot of NASA fakes were made. And you can see there's a lot more to the article. I'm not going to go on, but it brings up a lot of really good points. If you are somebody who follows the idea of the fake moon landing theory, this is right up your alley, and I think you're going to find a lot of great information here. All right, moving on. The war against GMOs. There's been some progress in Hawaii. Mayor Kenoi signs Bill 113. On November 19th of 2013, the Hawaii County Chair adopted Bill 113 Draft 3, adding a new article relating to the genetically engineered crops and plants, and on November 21st, 2013, delivered the bill to me for my consideration. After careful deliberation and discussions with members of my administration and the public, I am signing the bill. Our community has deep connection with respect for our land, and we all understand we must protect our island to preserve our precious natural resources. We are determined to do what is right for the land because this place is unlike any in the world, and the new ordinances are conveying this instead of global agribusiness corporations. We want to encourage and support community-based farming and ranching. We can go on, there's a lot more to it, but good job, Hawaii. Way to go and way to step up there and do the right thing. Now, if other cities, other countries, other states could follow suit, that would be awesome. Okay? That would be awesome. So good job for Hawaii. This object here has appeared in the Bristol harbor, and if you notice, it's glowing. Quite fascinating. Doesn't really kind of been confusing to actually scientists and those looking at this, wondering what this is. Is this something that is a result of Fukushima? Or is this some other kind of creature that we've never seen before, some alien creature that is down here in our waters now? I don't know, but I'm sure you'll be hearing more about this story because it is getting big press, and I've seen it on the front page of some of the major news outlets out there. All right, let's flip gears here. This is over to ISON. I want you to see this piece that ISON is alive and well. Good research here by this gentleman, Dark Sky Watcher 74. Listen to this. Here we go.
What's up, everyone? It's Triomite. It's December 6, 2013, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the imagery that's on your screen. There's a few things going on in here, and I want to see if we can figure out what's really going on here. So let me go ahead and pause this. See, we have Earth and we have Mercury. We have this object here. Now, how do we have Earth up here and Earth down here, guys? What are they doing to us in this frame? What are they doing? What are they blocking out and looping here and overlaying? Well, what's this over here? This is coming in. It's pushing stuff out of the way. Pay attention to it. See that? Now, what else we got going on up in this image? We have this right here that keeps getting blocked out. Now, when I was in Worldwide Telescope trying to get an angle from where this satellite was at, it looked like this could be the Pleiades constellation, guys. It really did look like it could. Although I've never seen the Pleiades constellation throw off signatures. So this is our round object. This is our dark planet. Whatever it is that we're looking at, this object of interest up there. And there's another thing I want to point out, which is ISON right up here, guys. Let me get a pause on this. All right, ISON's not dead. I've been saying it that it survived, but look at it. We can see there's a lot going on in ISON right here. It's not fading out, guys. It looks like it's brightening up to me in these images. So what we're going to do, I don't have the clearance on it this morning, but tonight I will have clearance. Tomorrow I'll have clearance, and every other day after that we're going to be searching for this, guys. We're going to be looking for this. And when I look at this on the satellite imagery and it's showing up like this, it'll show up in the telescope absolutely no problem. All we got to do is find it. Is it going to be on the course that they're telling us it's on? Is it going to be where my program says it's going to be? I don't know. We might have to do some serious searching, guys. And the reason why people aren't giving you those images anymore and they're not looking for it is because it was too close to the sun. Now it's pulling away. I have it about 10 degrees off above my horizon before sunrise. That's just barely enough for me to get the scope over the wall. Like I said, I don't have the clearance this morning, but tonight I should, and tomorrow, any time after that, I should. Every day we're going to be looking for it tonight around 6:30. Tomorrow morning about 6:30 in the morning as well. So I don't know, guys. There's a lot going on here. What are they trying to hide? Is it this? Is it ISON? What are they doing? Because we have this glare coming out here screwing us on ISON as we see ISON getting brighter. And remember, guys, this is the 4th. This is the newest imagery that came out from HI-1A. This is the newest imagery. So is it this object up here? Is it this object right here? What is it? What's really going on in this imagery, guys? What is it that they're hiding?
All right, good question. What are they hiding? They obviously are hiding something very strange. Now you have some links so you can check it out and see what's going on. Up by Mars, there's some interesting things taking place. This was a picture that Cassini took of Mars. Look at this. It says Cassini captures amazing high-res animation of Saturn's mysterious hexagon. Did I say Mars? I meant Saturn. NASA's Cassini mission has captured an incredible high-resolution animation of the psychedelic jet stream known as Saturn's northern hexagon. The strange polygonal object is a continent-sized, six-sided hurricane with 200-mile winds that spins around Saturn's north pole. Scientists are at a loss to explain exactly how the hexagon gets its perfect shape, but they suspect that it has to do with the way the jets interact with Saturn's gaseous atmosphere. The colors seen in the GIF are not true colors, but instead are rendered so that the Cassini science team can better identify the different gaseous particles that make up the hexagon's haze. Let's go back to this one line. Just want to remind you of scientists are at a loss to explain how it gets its perfect shape. Again, you could see that despite all of these mysteries going on in the skies, and despite their somewhat approach to it as if they know what they're talking about, they don't. They don't understand. So they're looking at these objects and these events taking place, and they themselves are baffled. Why? Because their science isn't necessarily based on understanding those type of events. There's problems with the science. We need to understand a bigger science. What's going on in the cosmos might not necessarily apply to the sciences we know down here on Earth. And so for us to want to apply that, it's natural because we're down here and trying to apply what we know, but it's not necessarily practical because once we get outside the bounds of planet Earth, there's a different set of rules taking place out there. Okay? Different set of structures in mind. Now here's another article about something going on outside in the cosmos. It says Colossal Cosmic Accelerator discovered hovering above Earth. Newly released research has identified the existence of a giant cosmic accelerator above the Earth. A natural space synchrotron accelerator has scales hundreds of thousands of kilometers, dwarfing even the largest man-made similar accelerators such as the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, which has a circumstance of only 27 kilometers. By analyzing data from NASA's Van Allen probes, University of Alberta physicist Ian Mann, together with his colleagues at NASA and other institutes, have been able to measure and identify the smoking gun of the planetary scale process that accelerates particle speed close to the speed of light within the Van Allen radiation belt. Man says this particular acceleration, deriving energy from solar flares or eruptions and carried through space on a solar wind, exists in the region of space dominated by the Earth's magnetic field, where satellites fly, known as the magnetosphere. The discovery is a jumping-off point for understanding space storms and determining how to protect man-made systems on Earth and in space from potential damage from space storms and severe weathers. The puzzle ever since the discovery has been, how do particles get accelerated up to nearly the speed of light, says Man. A lot more to the article. Very interesting. I'm going to leave it for you to read the rest. All right. There is an event taking place coming up on the 16th, an alignment in the sky that is being discussed that happens periodically. There's these things called the gates of the sun. There's the golden gate, there's the silver gate. And when they have alignments, they seem to coincide with events that take place on Earth. So because of that, the study has come about to understand a little bit more what they are. So first, let's take a look at what these are. Okay, it says the gates of the sun. On the Freemasons website that Wayne Herschel is referring to on the Key of Solomon website, the Freemasons speak on the wisdom of the ancient philosophers who regarded the soul of man to have its origins in heaven. The soul was believed to incarnate in the flesh after having descended from heaven, passing through the gate of man. Having lived on earth, the soul eventually left the body after death and returned to heaven. Again, this passing through the gate of God. The gate of man corresponds with the crossing of the Milky Way and the ecliptic at 5 degrees Gemini, while the gate of God corresponds with the crossing of the Milky Way and the ecliptic in 5 degrees Sagittarius. The Greek writer Macrocobus called these the gates of the ecliptic, through which the souls ascend and descend to heaven, the gates of the sun. This is because not only mortal man, but also the sun dies and is reborn in the precession cycle at the very same gates. When the sun resides on the gates of the sun at the equinox or solstice, it represents a galactic alignment in a great celestial conjunction. What happens during the 39 period of the great celestial conjunction is that the sun or the equinox or the solstice slowly shifts through the galactic equator of the Milky Way. On Earth, the river Nile was the reflection of the great river in the sky, in accordance with the Hermetic principle, as above, so below. Herschel's earliest ingenious research has demonstrated that all of the pyramids along the Nile River represent constellations along the Milky Way, not just Orion. There are more than 50 pyramids in total, and their true meaning can only be deciphered when one considers the whole of Egypt. Okay, so this is the first piece of the puzzle. There's more to it, so I'm going to let you read because there's a lot more to it. But that describes the gates. You got the one gate, which is the gate that man enters. It's called the silver gate. And then you have the other gate, which is the gate that you enter back into heaven. That is the golden gate. Well, this article here talks about times that when the golden gate and the silver gate alignments are taking place. It says the Navy shooter is another chapter in the seemingly senseless murders of the innocent people by another gunman in history with a psychotropic drug protocol. Maybe. The shooter, Alexis Aaron, entered into the Washington, D.C. Naval complex on September 16th and began shooting between 8:50 and 8:20. He killed 13 people before he was shot down. The rest of the media opines as why of his motives. There are clear patterns between many of these killings. Part of these is the ancient Stargate, the ley lines. The Associated Press reported that Alexis had been treated at the hospital. Let me skip down here. Okay. Next, the common ancient silver gate, Stargate, known as the back door of heaven, was overhead during the massacre. If you have been following this site, you would know that either the silver or golden gates have been over many of the massacres. Out of the 88 constellations, we have 2 which are commonly over the massacres. The golden gate is the way in, the silver is the way out. These are the openings to the transport systems into the spiritual world. These possessions coincide with the gate systems to hijack energy and souls into the spirit realm. This is part of the spiritual war we are in, and it is not the first time. If you read the book of Mark, you will find, in addition to miracles, the battle Jesus was against the unseen demonic world. These conscious demonic entities use humans as the host or handicap to hinder them or drive them to acts of violence. Jesus could see them from afar and even stated they are different kinds of demons. One in particular could be removed by prayer. And as it goes on, I thought there was a listing here of different events, but like 9/11 occurred during one of these gates. The shootings occurred during these gates. There's more to the articles, but the point being, September 16th, we're having one of these periods, but not only is it one gate, it's both gates are going to be in alignment on that day. So the question is, following in accordance with the way things have gone when there's been these other moments of these gates, is there going to be some sort of activity taking place down here on Earth that we're going to need to be concerned about? Time will tell. This talks about portals where energies are opened up and demonic forces come through. We already have seen that times like with the Olympic Games, and they had the great fire that was showing, and the ceremony they did, there was a lot that suspected that that was a dark ritual. There's been many times people have said that the 9/11 incident was a dark ritual as well, and many of these other events are blood sacrifices to Satan. You heard from the earlier talk, Father Malachi, that Satan is alive and well in the world and having his influence is in the church. So all of these things are par for the course. Remember, it's a spiritual battle. That's what we are told. So if we take our mind or take our focus off the point that there's a spiritual battle, we're going to miss the point of how to defend ourselves against any of the problems that are going on. Problems aren't taking place on a physical level. They're happening on a physical level, but they're manifesting, but they're taking place and they're originating at higher levels. The fire, the water, the air, the ideas, the love, emotions, feelings, the words, and the actions. That is where they're taking place. So in order to be able to deal with these, we need to go and look at those levels. We need to use our sense of discernment. We need to be able to look through our third eye to see what's out there. We need to be able to feel and sense energies that are around us so that we can stand and protect ourselves against those and help to protect the planet against those kind of problems. Very important. So on the 16th, let's make sure that we're really sending out some positive energy to contradict anything negative that might be going on, because we certainly know that the powers that be are Satanists in and of themselves, and that they love to use these times to really be able to capture more negative energy so they can pour it into the world. Well, we'll just capture more love energy and we'll pour that into the world, and we'll keep doing that because that is what we're supposed to do. And above all else, do not be afraid. Remember the biblical passage, I confirm you, be firm and steadfast. Do not fear, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you may go. So during these times when we are challenged because the effects of Satan are in this world, don't be afraid. Be glad, because know in these times that God is returning. Jesus Christ is making his return, and, well, devil's going to have some explaining to do. So, good times ahead, my friends. We just have to understand which side we're on. Either you're on the side of the victim. I'm not a victim, and I'm not going to be, and I know many of you aren't victims out there. So if you're not on the side of the victim, then you're on the side of the victor, which means you're on the side of those who are going to win. That's the side of God. That's the side of Jesus Christ. If you're on that side, good times are ahead. You just need to bide your time during these moments that we're in. Keep paying attention. Be on guard so you're not deceived, and understand when it's your time to act. Okay? Articles there so you can read through it and understand a little bit more. This is a message for today from the High Council of Orion. Here we go.
Mention message from the High Council of Orion.
December 3rd, 2013, channeled by Holly Hawkins Marwood, transcribed by Paul Marwood, your custom-tailored pipeline of information.
The Council.
Greetings, dear ones. We are the High Council of Orion. Today we offer up an explanation about the mood or the orientation of the messages we share with you. For many would like to hear about the potential of life within the planet, what happens with poles shifting, what happens with stars colliding, and what happens with non-physical beings in other parts of the galaxy, universe, and multiverse. Yet our messages always seem so human. They are so earthbound, in a sense, for they are focused on you and your life. There is a reason for this. The reason is we wish to anchor you more firmly in your internal truth as your source of information, your source of guidance, your source of peace, your source of understanding. For your internal information systems are, as you know, where your soul is speaking to you. If one were to worry about planetary changes and how they might impact you, you being tuned into your soul and its truth gives you a guidepost about where to be and when, and gives you an internal sense of peace and understanding that transcends any information from the outside that you could bring in. For many of you who are worried about impending troubles on the planet and how your lives might be affected by it, there is no amount of information that would make you feel satisfied right now. Would you agree? For if one person said one thing, there will always be another person who will say something that seems to be opposite of it. The more you dig, the more information you find, and you will find the full spectrum of potential out there in information. Then you sit with question marks floating above your head of which is right, and who to believe? So more information does not help you feel better. More information is feeding the space of your head, yet it is not feeding the place of your soul, which is crying out for the peace and the understanding, crying out for connection to it. The messages we share are designed for you to continually go within and learn to trust your internal guidance. Learn to trust the voice of your soul, which is connected to Source. If you want a pipeline of information that's custom tailored to you and your soul, we invite you to listen to your soul, through the space of your heart, through the quiet moments, through your intuition, through your journaling, in whatever way you've found, to connect more deeply with your soul. That will be the most effective, positive, uplifting place for you to connect with the information system that will support you at your soulic level. There is no information out there in your mainstream information systems that will satisfy. The reason you can find a range of answers that don't satisfy is because it's time to not be satisfied by external information. The questions that come up and the lack of clarity that you can search for on your internet time and time again, and say, well, this person said that, and this other person said the opposite, and this other person had a completely different point of view, which is correct? It's the evidence of you needing to go inside and be less satisfied by that external information. The information the High Council of Orion is sharing through this channel, we share to lovingly, gently, trustingly guide you to find the greatest source of information for you, which is your soul. When your ego says, but, I don't have this piece of information. You can quiet your ego by saying, just a moment. Let me go inside and get the information from my soul. When you have that information, and when you have exercised the muscle of accessing that information, finding the consistency of the good advice from your soul, and seeing that soul-level information really positively guiding you in a direction that feels good and feels better when you listen and follow through with the information that your soul provides, you begin to trust that as an information source. We would say it becomes your most trusted source of information beyond anything else. For it is custom tailored to you. Your soul has its unique vision, its unique experience on the planet at this time. Your soul is not requiring the information of the masses, the one-size-fits-all. Your soul is requiring its unique expression through you. Its unique expression through you means the information system from the universe, through your soul, into your human life will be custom tailored to you. Will it be the same as a family member, friend, or other people in your business, groups, or religious organizations? Maybe not, but you will feel how the truth resonates with you. As you tap into that place and that reservoir of your soul-level truth, your decisions will be right. You will be in the right place at the right time. You will find yourself needing to worry less, for you trust that your human actions and reactions, being guided by your soul, are the best set of directions that you could be receiving. Be blessed. We are the High Council of Orion.
Alright, very nice message for today. Let's go over, see what our angelic message is for today. Angelic message is, no need for compromise, reach for the stars. You deserve the very best. Alright, very nice. Let's go over to our meditation. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale. Activate all of your chakras, bottom of the spine red, drawing the energy from the earth. Energy rises up to the second chakra, orange. Right at the belly button, activate the chakra above that in the solar plexus area. Imagine the color yellow. See the energy moving up to the heart. Activate the heart chakra. Color is green. See the energy move up to the throat. Activate the throat chakra. Color is blue. From the throat chakra, activate the third eye chakra. Indigo is the color you want to imagine. The light continues on up into the crown chakra where you see violet. And then the light continues on bright white into the cosmos, connecting above. Feel the connection to all the energy flowing through you from above and from the below, from the cosmos, from the earth. Feel all this energy moving through your chakras, both clockwise and counterclockwise, clearing out the energies, clearing out any residual doubts and fears that may have crept in along the way. See them being recycled, seeing the darkness changed into light, seeing and feel the love of the chakra of the heart go through and change all of the residual doubts and fears into love. And feel this transformation taking place within your body. I want you to imagine now that you are standing on a great battlefield. In your hand is a sword of light. And I want you to imagine that you are on that battlefield with many other light beings, standing there holding that sword of light and in battle against the forces of darkness. And I want you to imagine that you and all other light bearers are gathered around these forces of darkness, hitting them with the swords. And as you do, we see them dissipate one at a time. Imagine these forces of darkness dissipating, leaving the planet as the swords of light continue to move through and strike them down one at a time. Imagine those souls that are being infected by this dark forces fall to the ground as the entities that are controlling them are dissipated. And imagine standing around seeing all of these demonic forces defeated and watching all of their dark energy as it dissipates and transforms back into the universe where it is recycled into love. Notice Archangel Michael smiling down upon everyone, cheering as we stand strong and working with him to defend this universe against all demonic forces. See the face of God smiling down upon the planet, saying, now you are standing up to your destiny. Now you are doing what you need to be doing, fighting against the forces of darkness. And imagine now walking through the world filled with love and light, the world free from fear and darkness. Imagine that all of those who cause problems now are gone. And as you speak to your neighbors, they speak back and you communicate friendly. And as you walk through the streets, you meet people you didn't know, and everyone is different, feeling the change that has taken place, feeling the positivity that has occurred. Hold this thought in your mind's eye, my friends, and know that where we are headed, where we are destined, is to go towards the light, to stand strong in faith, and to use all that we have been given by the great Creator to fight against the demonic forces, and of course to stand victorious. So feel the thrill of victory as you contemplate victory over the dark forces, and feel what it is like to be upon the planet where all of that negativity and darkness is removed. Feel that possibility, know that it exists, know that all we have to do is put our consciousness into that place, and then watch those demons run. Keep holding that thought, and as we go into the world, let's just keep imagining that we are sending light and love, and we are striking down any demonic force that gets in our way. Imagine it, and it shall be so. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. Amen. Why don't you take another deep breath? Inhale all the goodness of life and exhale out, and allow that goodness to go around the world and affect everybody, and just keep reminding them about the goodness and the possibility of the goodness and the promise of everlasting life and the promise of peace. Take another deep breath. Exhale slowly. Exhale slowly. And go ahead and open your eyes on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. There you have it, my friends. That is our show for today and the shows for the week. Thank you for being here. Got plenty of links for you to go and follow and watch and entertain yourself over the course of this weekend. Just remember, no matter how much darkness, how much negativity they want to talk out there, it's just talk. It's just nonsense. The power of Christ flows through you, and all you have to do is let that shine, and when you do, there is not a demonic force in this world that can stand up against that. And when we bond together in numbers, it even multiplies more. So just keep standing strong, my friends. Keep believing in the power of God that flows through you, and all will be well in the world. You have an awesome weekend. Much love and light to each and every one of you, and to your families and your friends. I'll be back on Monday with more news and information. Be safe. Have a great weekend. I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.